please turn off your camera, but know that your voice, if you speak, is still going to be on the recording. All right, we want to hear from everyone, but there is not always time. It is everyone's job to make sure that we have a good meeting, and all of us have the right to speak and ask questions, but no one has the right to be disruptive or disrespectful. So let's just have a great meeting together. So I am Shamika Andrews. I am the SANES Outreach Coordinator. Today we're going to have an update from Arnold and our board president, Danielle, followed by a presentation by the team from the CDD, which stands for Council on Developmental Disabilities. And then after that, you'll get to hear meditation from me if you stay on for our second hour. And then we will discuss our right of the month for May, which is privacy. Then we will have our quote of the week, brought to us by the rights team. And then we'll have our song, and then we'll have a nice day. All righty. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Arnold and Danielle for our update.
Thank you, Shamika, and hello, everybody. So I got a couple of announcements, first of which has to do with the governor, and as it looks like right now, the budget is still not passed, but it does look like it is close, as the governor has officially announced a verbal agreement.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's my fault, Danielle, what I sent you. We didn't update that. That's old news. She had announced a while ago, but it is looking closer each week. We're on to several weeks.
We're getting there.
Happened. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
We also checked on the status of the two durable medical equipment bills, which we are supporting, and both are in committee. Sorry about that. The Assembly bill is in the Ways and Means, and the Senate bill just moved into the Finance Committee last week, which is a very good sign. Those bills are important because rates to durable medical equipment providers are based on standards from decades ago and have not kept up with costs of living. Hold on, guys. I'm having trouble sitting up.
You're doing great, Danielle.
Better rates can help those businesses stay open, employ and retain staff, and purchase better equipment, which obviously I need, and materials so that they can provide more timely repairs and orders of new equipment. The two bills are New York State Senate Bill S8838 and Assembly Bill A10576. Last week, we were asked about the status of the increased investment in DSP wages. The advocacy has been focused on what is called targeted inflationary increase, which would help providers pay DSPs and other staff better, but also keep up with other rising costs. Providers were looking for a 2.7% increase, and SANUS advocated for as much as could be given, but no less than the 2.7%. Both houses were recommending as much as 4%, but this still needs to be negotiated with the governor. If this is something that you are passionate about, you should continue to advocate with your legislatures and the governor's office. Michelle will put the bill numbers and the links to the committees so you can check and see if any of the members are your representatives. And then we would encourage you to reach out to them and tell them about your support for the bill. If none of the members are, sorry guys. Okay. If none of the members are your representatives, it would be a good idea to reach out to the committee chairs. Okay. Michelle, if you could share the links.
Oh, actually, since I'm here, I'm doing it, Danielle. So yeah, we did
Oh,
this.
okay. I thought Michelle was
So I'm
doing it.
actually gonna do it now. Yeah. So yeah, I didn't send them to you, Michelle. So, but I just popped them in there. So they're gonna be up
Oh,
in a
okay.
second. Um, can I jump in a little bit, Michelle? Or sorry, Danielle, can I jump in just really quick? Because I know that I was here last week and you weren't, and some of the question
Yeah,
about
that's fine. That's fine.
yeah, so I just wanted to be clear with everybody kind of what we're talking about because I realized last week, Joy, I believe it was you asked, and it was kind of one of those moments where I don't think I put enough thought into my answer. So I wanted to make sure I just clarified this week about the DSP wage thing. So it's been several months since the houses had sort of committed to
Mhm.
pushing for 4%, and their budgets, right, reflected that. So, all right, and the one house budget had a 4%. Um, that's what Danielle's talking about. I know last week I was like, oh, there's not really a controversy around that that's approved. And what I neglected to realize in having like a very rapid response without reflecting too much is we're still in a negotiation stage with the governor's office. So anything like that, right, is going to get negotiated at this stage too. So basically, we don't know really what's happening behind closed doors. We do know for the most part, the governor for the most part has been supportive of increases over time. I believe there was one year where she did not approve one. But I just want to make sure everyone's clear because I felt maybe it was a little misleading what I said last week. We can't guarantee that 4% is what's actually going to happen. Can't even necessarily guarantee that 2.7% is going to happen. So we've all been doing a lot of advocacy for pushing for them to give as much as possible. But I guess I just wanted to repeat that for everybody. If you're still interested, you know what I mean? It's never too late, right? Things aren't approved yet.
Mhm.
So if you feel passionate about this, you can reach out. And it's the same thing on the on those durable medical equipment bills. So nothing's
Mhm.
decided yet. Nothing's been, is out, but nothing's also completely final. All right. And I think that was it for me, Danielle, if you're good.
Mhm. I'm good. It's just these topics are things that are important to all of us, whether it's the durable medical equipment, which I know a lot of us use on this call, and even the pay rates. We need these to maintain our way of lives. So the more advocacy we do, the better chances we have of seeing the changes we want take place.
Thank you, Danielle and Arnold, for that update. Heather, you have your hand up? You're muted, hon.
Sorry. I have a quick question. What did you say the names of those bills are again?
So
Yeah,
it's
I'll
S
chat.
it's S8838 and A.
S.
Yeah, they're in the chat.
Well, I'm putting them in the chat. I put the
Yeah,
links in
yeah.
the chat,
Arnold's
but I
gonna
put-
put them in the chat and you can get them from there.
Okay, the
Or I
links
can
to
also
those.
email them to you later on, Heather.
Okay.
Alrighty.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our friends who have joined us from the CDD. Uh, who wants?
That's me,
Kristen, you gotta
Shamika.
go. Gonna-
Yes.
Ladies, do you need screen sharing privileges?
Yes, please, we do.
Yes.
And
Thank
who
you.
would I give that to?
That would be me. I'll be
To Jennifer? Okay.
running the slides. Yeah.
Okay, I'm
Okay.
going to make you a co-host so you can do your slides.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You should be all set.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kristen Proud. I'm the Executive Director of the New York State Council on Developmental Disabilities. I think we'll start by doing a few introductions of the CDD team that we have joining us today. So I'll start with Jen.
Jennifer, you're muted.
Sorry about that, trying to operate too many things at once. Hi, everyone. My name is Jennifer Goldman. I think I may have met some of you before in one way or another, and I am the federal liaison on the council staff.
Thanks, Jen. Jackie?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jackie Hayes. I am a program planner here at the Council on Developmental Disabilities, and it's a pleasure to be here today.
Kim?
Good afternoon, Kimberly Berg. I am the other program planner here at the CDD. Good to see everybody, including some familiar faces and longtime friends.
Anna?
Hey everyone, good afternoon. My name is Anna DeRosa. I'm a program research specialist here at the CDD, and I think I'm more of just an observer today, but I'm excited to be here with everyone. Thank you.
Great. I do want to take a moment to thank Arnold and Shamika for inviting us to talk to you today about the New York State Council on Developmental Disabilities. We have a great working relationship with both of them and with other SANES staff as well. And we always look forward to participating in your annual conference in the fall. So we're looking forward to that again this fall. I know the call for proposals is out there because Arnold and team start planning very early, given how much work goes into planning such a fantastic conference for all of you. So we look forward to seeing many of you in person in the fall. But we wanted to join today and just talk about the council for those of you who are not familiar with it, and for those of you who may have heard of us or met some of us over time, or a little bit about our work. We wanted to go into a little bit more detail about sort of what guides our work, which Jen will talk about. That's our state plan. And then we're going to talk about the work that's done through our two standing committees, the Community and Systems Change Committee that Jackie Hayes leads, and also the Individuals and Families Committee, which is led by Kim Berg. And I also do want to take a moment, of course, to acknowledge that Shamika is a longtime member of the CDD. She was appointed by the governor a number of years ago and is an absolutely fantastic and really engaged member of the council, for which we're grateful. And Shamika also leads what we call the CDD caucus. And that is a group of our council members who are either self-advocates or they are parents or siblings of individuals of all ages with developmental disabilities. So Shamika is our caucus chair. So thanks to her for that, and also for the work that she does on the Ms. Wheelchair New York pageant, which is incredible. And we've had some just amazing individuals, including Shamika and another one of our council members, our Vice Chair Katrina Hazel, who are former Ms. Wheelchair New York. But each and every one of the women who participates in that pageant is incredibly special and unique. So thanks to Shamika for that too. And those are just examples of how, you know, people with DD can engage in all kinds of activities, including pageants. So on to who we are at the CDD and what it is that we do. So the Council on Developmental Disabilities is led by individuals. There are about 30 members right now, all of whom are appointed by the governor. And we, the council, exist because of the Federal Developmental Disabilities Act of 2000. So every state in the country has a developmental disabilities council. Some are larger than others, depending on the size of the state, but every state is required by federal law to have a council. So we are that council, the CDD for New York State. We exist primarily with the support of federal funds. Our funds and the federal agency that oversees us is the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. And there's a part of that department that's called the Administration for Community Living, or ACL. And they are the part of the federal government that monitors us, hopefully sends us our funding. As many of you know, because you followed the federal budget situation because of its potential impact on Medicaid and other services that you need, the federal budget has been like a roller coaster the last couple of years. So we continue to navigate that, but that's what primarily funds us. And until the last 2 years, that was our only source of funding. So now we do get a little bit of funding from the state of New York to be able to support our basic operations. But in order to do the grant work that we do, including the ongoing grant that we have with SANES that Jackie will talk about in a little bit, we do rely on the federal funds. So it's important that we have a good working relationship with the agency at the federal level that's responsible for our oversight. Our mission is to enhance the lives of all New Yorkers who have any sort of developmental disability, as well as their families, so that we can help promote self-advocacy first and foremost, and then ensure that people are included in every aspect of community life, right? We all want to have friends, and if we can work, we want to work. We want to be able to
Kristen,
go
I'm
out and
sorry.
do
I
it.
don't mean to interrupt you, but Jen, I don't know if you don't realize, but the slides aren't changing.
Oh, did you want to, I'm sorry, Kristen, I left it up there. Did you want to show the video or?
Yep, we'll show the video in just a sec.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
Thanks.
okay, sorry. No problem.
You can advance to the next slide though, Jen.
Sorry.
Maybe put it in slideshow mode so that the whole slide takes up the screen.
Sometimes you have to reshare your screen.
Yep,
when
I
you go
know.
to
It's been
slide
really
share,
mean
yeah.
lately. Give it a shot and see. If not,
Yeah.
we could do that too. I think it's confusing for people to see
To see the side
the two
little
panes.
slides on the
Yeah.
sidebar, yeah. It says it's in slideshow from what I'm looking at, but
I'm able to see it now. It moved.
I mean, we
yeah,
can
we
see
still see
it.
the slides off to the left, though.
So if you
I don't
go
know if
up
we
to
can-
the far left and just click on from the beginning, that right there, try that.
I think when you open it as a PowerPoint, it'll open kind of in a new window, so you'll have to stop sharing and then reshare that opened PowerPoint.
Yes.
Sorry, it's a little
That's what I was
complicated.
trying to say,
Yeah.
Anna.
I'm sorry, Anna, say that again.
So I think you're gonna wanna, yep, stop sharing your screen right now, and then go back in and you'll wanna share the actual full screened PowerPoint, which will pop up in kind of a new window in PowerPoint.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sorry, everyone. I apparently was the wrong one to choose to. Man, this
Don't worry, we make plenty of mistakes, Jennifer.
Yeah, it's all right. It's, what's a Zoom meeting without technical difficulties, It's all
okay.
good.
And then it still doesn't look like it's in PowerPoint mode, Jen. I think you might want to unshare your screen. Yep,
There we
there you
go.
go.
Is it good
Perfect.
now?
Yep. Now it's
Okay.
perfect.
All right. Sorry about that, everybody.
All right. So if we can go back one, Jen. So yes, so we talked about how we were formed, right? We and all of our colleagues in all the other state councils exist because of the Bill of Rights, the DD Bill of Rights that was enacted at the federal level in the year 2000. And so much of our work is structured around grants. And those grant project ideas come from primarily from our two standing committees. And Jackie and Kim, when we get a little further into the presentation, will talk about the work that they do as our program planners. But really, our mission centers around advocacy, primarily self-advocacy, but also the advocacy of family members and other caregivers to support people with DD, and then systems change and capacity building within the state's DD system. So we did create a video a couple of months back that talks about who we are at the CDD and what it is that we do. And it also profiles and shows interview clips from each of the CDD members who are part of our leadership team. So Dave Dool, who is the parent and brother-in-law of individuals with developmental disabilities, is our council chair at this point. Katrina Hazel, who is an individual with developmental disabilities and a very strong and active self-advocate and life coach, is our vice chair. Your very own Shamika Andrews, as I said earlier, is a long-time member of the council and our self-advocate and family member caucus chair. And then Xavier Skeeter chairs one of our committees, and he is a self-advocate member who lives locally in the Albany area. And we also have Sean Fultz, who is a self-advocate, and Sean chairs our other committee. So at this point, the video is just about 5 minutes long, but I think we'll take a moment to share the video so that you can hear in their own words from each of the leadership team members about the Council on Developmental Disabilities.
Can everyone hear the video when I play it?
No, you need to share your sound, Miss Goodman.
So you'll have to
Hi.
stop sharing, and then when
I'm
you
just
click
crushing it today.
share again, you have to click on those
share
little
it?
boxes. So when you get that initial sharing screen, there's going to be little boxes to the right, I think, that talk about sound.
Share sound. Got
There
it.
you go.
Okay.
Perfect.
When I had a child with a disability and I married a woman who had a sister with an intellectual disability, it all changed. It got very personal.
I realized that people needed to know what it's like to have a person with disability.
We want a full life, and for me, that's why it's important to make sure that we are at the tables where these conversations are happening.
It's stories like these that empower all of us at the New York State Council on Developmental Disabilities to promote advocacy, innovation, and inclusion in all facets of community life. The Council, or CDD, is comprised of highly motivated advocates, which include people with developmental disabilities and their family members, as well as professionals within the field.
I think the council is a meeting point for ideas and people. Putting them on committees together really produces some helpful results in terms of trying to understand what the task is and then how to go about doing it.
The Council votes on grant opportunities that fund innovative projects that not only improve the lives of people with developmental disabilities and their family members, but also help them to advocate for themselves, organize, and lead.
We essentially can take on issues, provide grant funding, and try to pilot unique and innovative ideas. Then we would hope to be able to identify other funding sources and other ways to be able to take them to scale.
What inspired me to join the council is my ability to be a voice and advocate for others. We get to have a voice in grants that's being passed to support the disability community and funding that's needed for particular things like education, transportation, healthcare, and more.
The CDD gets a lot of ideas from self-actors like myself. The CDD has helped me build my speaking skills so I can use my voice for myself and others.
The Council and its grant projects help people with disabilities and their families to become advocates, many of whom serve on boards, speak out in their communities, and shape legislation that reflects their voices and experiences.
Our Advocacy Institute that we've done the last few years, where we bring in new advocates and we teach them about advocating for themselves and how to talk to legislators.
The CDD are important because it helps give different people a voice.
Get involved, be totally honest, and if your story fits with what they are dealing with, tell them, because your story is your strength.
The Council promotes innovation by investing in bold ideas that help people with disabilities gain more control over their own lives and decisions.
I'm particularly proud of the supported decision-making project that they have also supported, because it's making a difference in the lives of not only me but many others with disabilities to have a second option to planning their future.
The Council is always looking at new ways to break down barriers, expand opportunities, and make communities more accessible, recognizing developmental disabilities as strengths. It's also about listening to the voices that matter and working to stop the discrimination that people with disabilities still face every day.
I want to see people get married and not lose services. I mean, if you truly love someone, you can marry them and not worry about losing Social Security or Medicaid.
My friends in their program tell me that for finding a good job can be hard. Some people need extra help at work, like a job coach.
My hopes for the future is that we don't necessarily have to be assigned to a particular system or a diagnosis to receive support.
The New York State Council on Developmental Disabilities is building that future, where everyone has the opportunity to live fully.
In some ways, it's one of those best stories not told yet. I'm forever talking about how the council is addressing our daughter's needs.
We're one community and no one is different.
I'm an aunt, and my nieces and nephews, that was something that we did all the time growing up. They would walk with me and we would go to the park, and I would be able to, push them on the swing and, watch them come down. So it's not like I'm not just a spectator. I can actually participate, and that's what the council does.
In one sentence, the council means to me just a continuation of my life story. Let's move things forward for people.
One second. Okay. I'll just bring up the slides again. Hopefully better this time.
You're doing great.
There we go.
Absolutely.
So hopefully that video gives you a little window, at least a little insight into who we are at the council. And so there's a photo of Shamika, of course, and our Vice Chair Katrina, and our Chairperson Dave Dool, and then OPWDD Commissioner Willow Bear. So we have a very close working relationship with OPWDD. The Commissioner has a representative who sits on our two standing committees and also participates in our full council meetings. We meet in person as an entire council with all of our 30 or so members 3 times a year. So our next meeting will be in June. And those meetings you can actually tune into because those are public meetings. So you can log into the Zoom and watch those meetings. And you can see the information about our meetings as well as the Zoom links on the CDD website. Next slide. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Jen Goldman to talk to you a little bit about our 5-year state plan. We are required by the federal government to have a long-term, a 5-year state plan, and to have goals and objectives in our state plan. That is what guides our work, and that sort of creates the roadmap for our standing committees that Jackie and Kim will talk about to come up with grant projects and guide our other work, including our advocacy activities. So I'll leave it to Jen to take over this portion.
Thanks, Kristen. So Kristen started to give you a little bit of a picture of what the state plan is. As Kristen mentioned, it's federally required by the Developmental Disabilities Assistance and Bill of Rights Act. So every developmental disabilities council in every state must have a 5-year state plan. And the purpose of it is to outline our goals and objectives for our projects over 5 years. So it provides a plan or like a roadmap for the projects that we intend to develop, and also how we spend our money, our funds that are given to us by the federal government. Because as we're receiving public funds, we need to show that we are utilizing them properly and getting great outcomes for people with developmental disabilities. So when we develop a project, it must align with our goals and objectives in the state plan. We can't just come up with something new that doesn't relate to our state plan at all. It has to fit under one of our goals and objectives. And then also the Administration for Community Living, which is part of the Department of Health and Human Services in the federal government. Every 5 years, they approve our plan. And so they let us know that it's okay and that we can proceed to work on the goals and objectives that we've outlined in that plan. So this is our current state plan from 2022 to 2026. This plan is ending September 30th of this year, 2026. And then our new state plan will take effect October 1st, 2026. I know that doesn't exactly make sense, but we have to follow the federal calendar instead of just a normal calendar. But you'll see here our current plan that we're operating under. So our first goal number 1 is people with developmental disabilities. And under that goal, we have 2 objectives: self-advocacy and leadership, and then independent living and community engagement. Self-advocacy is a required objective. So every year in our state plan, in every state plan that we have to have a project related to improving self-advocacy. Our second goal is family members and caregivers. And under that, we have 2 objectives: family advocacy and capacity building, and then access to information, services, and supports. And then our final goal is systems change. And under that, we're doing projects related to developmental disability systems, non-DD systems, targeted disparity, and collaboration with others in our DD network. So I mentioned before that we're starting a new state plan October 1st. And to develop that new state plan, we did a lot of work. We did research and data analysis to determine what the needs were in our state. We also did some social media polls on our Facebook and our Instagram. We did a public input survey, which was available to anybody in the state of New York to participate in. Hopefully some of you may have seen that survey. We tried to distribute it as much as we could. We also did focus groups with many different types of people involved in the DD system. I think some of you might have been on the focus groups, because I did see some familiar faces. So we did focus groups with people with disabilities, family members, caregivers, direct support staff, community-based organizations. We did some focus groups in Spanish and Chinese. So we really tried to hear directly from as many stakeholders as we possibly could, so we could develop a plan that best met the needs and objectives that we intended to address. We also had a state plan work group comprised of some of our council members, and they also helped to shape our new state plan. So this is our tentative state plan, new 5-year state plan for 2027 through 2031. I say tentative because the federal government has to officially approve it in the month of August, I believe. But this is the plan we intend to follow. It looks kind of similar to our previous plan with a few tweaks. So we have goal 1, quality of life for people with DD. And then under that, we have 3 objectives: well-being, independence, and inclusion, and then self-advocacy and civic engagement. So this is where we do projects related to health, transportation, employment, those types of areas that are directly related to people with disabilities. The second goal is supporting people who support people with DD. And under we have 2 objectives: family members and caregivers and professionals. When we did our focus groups, we heard from many that there are many, surprised to no one that there were a lot of service issues related to workforce, the shortage and, finding stable help. So that we decided to include that new objective in our goals and objectives for this coming state plan. And then the final goal we have is systems change because, although we want to make improvements directly for people with disabilities and family members, it's also important to make system-wide changes to affect improvements on a larger scale across the state. So our 4 objectives there are targeted disparity. So people with DD and a mental health diagnosis is the focus area we've chosen. DD network collaboration, which will focus on safety in the home, cross systems improvements, and then a new 4th objective, emerging needs and emergency preparedness. So this is where, if there was an emergency that we didn't foresee happening, like COVID, this is where we would be able to develop a new project on the spot to address that need that, we weren't intending on addressing. This slide is slightly out of date, and that's my fault. So we've combined objective 1 and 2 into other objectives. So systems change only has objective 3 and 4 now, but we will still address those issues in objective 1 and 2, just under different categories. So I will turn it over to Jackie and Kim to talk about some of those projects that we've developed following our state plan.
Great. So as Kristen mentioned at the beginning, the CDD has 2 standing committees. That is the Committee on Systems Change, or CSCC, and that is one of the committees that I help oversee. And then Kim oversees the Individuals and Families Committee, really in partnership with our chairs. So you saw actually the CSCC chair at the beginning in that video, Xavier Skeeter, and he shared a little bit about some of the advocacy that he does on our council, including improving his public speaking skills and advocating for employment issues for people with developmental disabilities. So before we kind of talk a little bit about our grant projects, I just wanted to share kind of in general a bit about CDD grants. So periodically throughout the course of a year, we issue grant opportunities in line with our mission and in line with our state plan. And we advertise those grant opportunities on our website and via our listserv. So that's how most organizations find out about our grant opportunities. Our grant opportunities are open to eligible nonprofit organizations. So organizations are the typical group that we do work with our grants and who apply to our grants. Sometimes we get the question of, I'm an individual, can I apply for a CDD grant? And unfortunately, due to our federal restrictions and some of our guidance, individuals can apply for CDD grants, but organizations like SANES can apply for our grants. So really, in general, our grants are focused again on carrying out our mission or improving the lives of people with developmental disabilities and their families, and really help us meet the goals and objectives in our state plan as Jen outlined. The other thing that's kind of unique about our grants is that we tend to pilot new ideas focused or programs focused on advocacy, capacity building, and systems change. We can't expand or fund existing services. So we can go to the next slide. And just a note about where you can find all of our CDD grants. We have them on our website. We have a current projects page that outlines by year and by project name and grantee all of the grants that we're currently funding. And then if you click on that link or URL, it'll take you to a description of the grant project so you can learn more there. We also have a section on our website that really highlights the impact stories and the important impacts of the work of our grants. So you can see that on our website as well. You can go to the next slide. So I'll highlight a couple Community and Systems Change Committee or CSCC grant examples that I think you might find interesting or maybe want to connect with, or I thought you might be interested in hearing more about. So as you heard at the beginning, Xavier mentioned that employment is really important to him and people and other self-advocates like him, and that sometimes it can be difficult to find a job. So hearing that kind of need from our council members and from the field, the council passed a funding motion to fund a project called Together We Work. And this project really focuses on training people with developmental disabilities who are interested in working in the developmental disability field as peer specialists. So these are people with DD who might want to support people in group home settings, might want to assist them with their day-to-day needs, or help them doing community activities, and traveling to things like parks or libraries. So the peer assistant or peer specialist is as part of this project, basically they'll be trained to fulfill that role. And then really the goal is after the training and after the support, they will be connected with a job in the field. They might be hired by CP Unlimited, who is the lead for this grant, or they might be hired by another developmental disability service provider. It just depends on what they would like to do with that training and where they would like to work. Another grant example that came out of the CSCC committee is actually with Sanies. And you may have heard about or seen this grant. It's called Sanies DEI, which stands for Diversity, Equity, Inclusion. And it's really focused on strengthening DEI within Sanies. So the way you might have seen this, you might have heard the Be Kind curriculum delivered by John Fritz and Wayne Robinson at some of the regional conferences, or maybe seen that presentation and training at a statewide conference, at the statewide conference in Albany, or you might have also seen that on one of these calls, on the Staying Connected call, heard a little bit about that Be Kind curriculum, or maybe heard speakers on these calls that represent different racial, ethnic, or cultural groups to share a little bit about who they are and where they're from. Another grant that we're currently funding is in partnership with the University of Rochester and the Onondaga Nation, and it's called Onondaga Nation Collaboration. And really, we learned that people with developmental disabilities, youth, and children that attend the Onondaga Nation School might face some unique and additional barriers in accessing health services. So this project really helps to connect the Onondaga Nation School and youth with healthcare services that might help identify a developmental disability, might help connect them with resources or information or services or supports to better improve their quality of life. So those are 3 examples, and then we can go to the next slide. It would take a while for us to go through all the grants, so we'll just give you a sampling, but at the top, you'll see a few of the current other active CSCC grants. And as mentioned, they're also on our website, so you can see those there. You may have also seen recently one of the grants that we released to the field was called the Growing Advocacy Small Grant Initiative. And so just a month or so ago, we awarded 10 nonprofit organizations small grants to really grow their advocacy, and so that could be the advocacy of an organization run and led by self-advocates or people with developmental disabilities. Families or nonprofits could also apply if they wanted to create a new leadership position for someone with a developmental disability in their organization. So that was the Growing Advocacy Small Grant. We've also funded grants that have ended, but the resources are still available. And so some of those resources include there's a website called In the Driver's Seat, and that has a lot of good information about self-direction. So if you want to learn more about the self-direction program, In the Driver's Seat website is a good hub for information. And we helped fund the expansion of that into other regions of the state, as well as the development of some of those informational materials in Spanish. We also supported a grant called Proud and Supported, which created resources and trainings for people with developmental disabilities who identify as LGBTQIA+. And we heard that was a need as well, that people with developmental disabilities want the same opportunities to explore their sexual orientation or relationships. And so this provides some resources for people who identify as LGBTQIA. And then I think with that, that was a lot of different grants. So maybe I'll wrap it up there and turn it over to Kim to highlight some of the IFC grants.
Thanks, Jackie. Yep, so we have several fun initiatives going on right now through the IFC. The first one I'll mention is also an employment-related grant. So we're funding a grant called Family Employment Awareness Training. This is an established curriculum that wasn't here in New York, but we brought it to New York, down in New York City, working with the Chinese American Planning Council. And FEAT is really a training for family members and for people with disabilities to raise expectations around employment. So I think as folks may relate to in some way, sometimes families are the barrier to a person seeking out employment because they think that it's not a good fit for their family member, whatever the case may be. So the point of this training is really to open people's eyes and help support families on their journey to become more comfortable and help support their family member who wants a job. The next one that kind of falls within advocacy is our decision-making curriculum. So I know folks are aware of supported decision-making, which was a grant that we funded a while back. This decision-making curriculum is kind of an offshoot of that, or something that we realized was another area of need. So this curriculum is for school-aged kids to learn how to make decisions in environments where, there are not major consequences, and they're able to practice decision-making skills to empower them at a young age to learn how to make more important decisions as they get older. And so then once they reach the end of their schooling and are transitioning to adulthood, they already have a lot of experience making decisions about their own lives and have a good sense of the direction they want to go. So that we're very pleased to have that, and it's been that curriculum has been very successful so far. And then another grant that I'll mention is an inclusion project, but also an employment project. So we are working with an organization called Yes, She Can that works with women who have disabilities and who want to gain more employment skills. So it's a one-to-one mentorship program. So these women are teamed up with a woman who works in various fields. We have various mentors participating, and they work with their mentee or the person looking to gain more skills and looking to expand their choices for employment. So The participants learn different employment-related skills, but also some of the other aspects that are required for working, like getting along with others, how to interact in different settings. So they're learning a lot of skills that kind of help on the whole for people who are looking for a job. All right, next slide, Bill. And then similarly, I have a list here of the current IFC Individuals and Families grants, and then some of the past grants that we did through this state plan. So the topics are kind of wide ranging, but again, you know, we're trying to cover a lot of areas that are areas of need for people. So we have a nurse training program with the University of Rochester that is trying to improve healthcare, basically. So how people with developmental disabilities are experiencing when they visit the hospital for different needs, and improving the experience that they have working with the nurses and working with the doctors so that they get better care, they feel more comfortable, and they have better outcomes at the end of their hospital. We have an advocacy training. That one's pretty self-explanatory. So, you know, obviously one of our goals and one of you guys' goals is always to improve and further advocacy efforts. So we're funding a lot of work that falls under the advocacy category. We're funding a project with NYSID. Some of you may be familiar with NYSID, an employer toolkit to do more work on the side of businesses, to get businesses more interested and more comfortable hiring people with disabilities. We know that there's still a lot of stigma and a lot of barriers to that process. So we want to work on that side of things too, to make sure that the culture of different businesses is supportive and is inclusive and open to people with developmental disabilities. We're doing a few different projects in the area of mental health and disability. So kind of dual diagnosis is a term that you'll hear. So we're trying to do a project on mental health literacy. So just kind of opening up more information about how developmental disability and mental health challenges can co-occur. This is what it might look like, and some different resources that might be available. In a similar theme or a similar topic, we're also trying to establish a peer mentoring program and then a caregiver mentoring program for people with dual diagnosis. So for people with developmental disabilities who have mental health challenges as well. We're doing a couple grants with the court system to improve how the court system works with people with developmental disabilities. There's often kind of under reporting or under kind of flagging of people with DD who might be entering the court system. And then once they're kind of in that system, you know, they may not be receiving the treatments that they need or the support that they need throughout that process. And so we want to inform and educate court personnel so that they are kind of flagging when somebody might need extra support, when they might need explanations of some very complex processes in a more simple or straightforward way, so that people can navigate the system a little bit better. So we have two grants kind of focused on the court system. And then additionally, we are always trying to fund more transportation projects. Actually, Saini's a few years ago had one of our transportation grants. We've kind of switched to a small grant model to try and do some local area specific transportation. And then just some of the past grants, we've again funded a lot of work in the area of employment. So apprenticeship training, entrepreneurship training for people who want to start their own business. We've also done work in transitions. And when we talk about transitions, we're talking about all different transition points throughout the lifespan. So it's not just from school to adulthood, but it's really, you know, inclusive of all different transition points. Plain language training to try and get agencies and organizations to communicate in a way that is more accessible for anyone to understand and to receive that information. And then we've done some work in the area of domestic violence as well. a lot of information and there will not be a quiz after.
Thanks, Kim and Jackie. I will just go through the last portion, and then we really want to open this up to all of you so that we can answer any questions that you have and hear your feedback, suggestions, etc. So the CDD, as I mentioned at the beginning, is very active in helping individuals with DD as well as their family members to learn how to advocate for themselves, on an individual level, advocate for others, and go out in the community and be advocates in whatever way that takes. So that could be advocating for yourself for your medical needs and your medical care. It could be advocating for yourself if you're interested in getting a job and you're promoting yourself, trying to explain to potential employers what it is that you are capable of doing and what you're interested in doing and the value that you would bring to their organization or their business. And it also, at times, is broader than that, right? And you can help advocate for public policy changes. Danielle at the beginning of the meeting talked about pieces of legislation that have been introduced in the state legislature on things like durable medical equipment. And there are ways to advocate, right, to get those types of laws changed or to get funding for particular services. So there are lots of ways that you can advocate. I know that Arnold and Shamika and others at Zany spent a lot of time leading you through that and organizing advocacy events and things like that. But the CDD is also involved in advocacy. We have created a series of videos, some of which are directly related to the grant projects that you heard Jackie and Kim describe. And they show how individuals can be involved and how individuals can advocate for themselves, their family members, and others with developmental disabilities. In the photo there, you see two wonderful individuals. Paul and Hava are their names. They have been happily married. I think it was 13 years last month, if I'm not mistaken. Anna's nodding her head. They have been longtime friends of the council, as have their parents. And the Paul and Hava story, A Pathway to Marriage, is the name of the video. Oh, I see Kristen put a note in the chat that you had the honor of meeting them last year. Yes, thank you, Kristen. Paul and Hava, and both sets of parents, Paul's mother and father and Hava's mom and dad, all made the long drive from the eastern end of Long Island last fall because they were honored to be keynote speakers at the Zany's annual conference. And so we showed the video, and then Paul and Hava and their parents answered questions. I know they met afterward for some people. Yep, I see Heather said you met them too. They're really fantastic, really amazing individuals, as are their parents. And the video, which you can find on our website, and I know Anna's going to put up the link, which she just did in the chat. The video takes you through their journey, right? Not everyone was supportive of them when they decided that they wanted to get married. They met in a performing arts day program activity. They were doing a play, I think it was Grease. And they liked each other, got to know each other, dated for quite a while. And then Paul decided that he wanted to propose to Hava on her birthday, which he did. And there's a clip of that in the video. But not everyone was supportive of them getting married and also living together after they got married. And so for a few months after they were married, they actually did not live together until their parents were able to find a residential setting for them with a not-for-profit organization on Long Island that would accommodate them living together as husband and wife. And so thankfully it all worked out well for them. But the video does talk about some of the struggles that they endured and the challenges, legal challenges, etc. And so I think it's a real testament to the power of advocacy, right? I find the video really inspiring and uplifting. And they're a beautiful couple and beautiful individuals. And their parents are incredibly supportive. And even in the best of circumstances with, supportive family around them, advocating for them, and both of them having strong voices to advocate for themselves, they endured a lot of challenges. But they pushed through, and it shows you what you can accomplish when you have your mind set on a goal and you keep pushing. So if you haven't already seen it, I know many of you have. Many of you were at the conference last fall and you saw it and you met them. And heard them tell the story in their own words, in addition to what they shared in the video. But I would encourage you to take a look at it. We also have a video that profiles the Ramirez June Initiative, which was a grant project funded by the council a few years back in partnership with another state agency, the Office for New Americans. And that video talks about the grant project and tells the story of the individuals for whom the project was named, including Monica and Umberto Ramirez, who live in the Albany area. And they are a brother and sister. And Umberto is an incredible advocate for himself, and his sister is a powerful advocate for him and for others with DD as well. And, that highlights some of the additional challenges that people face when they are new Americans, having come from other countries, and they have DD and they're trying to navigate how to get services here, what services even exist. And so that's the Ramirez June Initiative video. We also do an advocacy institute every year. It's usually sometime in September. That helps us achieve one of our state plan goals that Jen talked about earlier, which is to help individuals and family members to learn how to be advocates, right? Not everyone just knows naturally how to do that. Some people are more shy or reserved than others, and they need some encouragement and skills development in order to both advocate for themselves, but also learn how to advocate more broadly in their communities and speak up for what they need and what they want, so that they can live very inclusive and full lives in the community. So you can see more about that on our website as well. Advocacy Institute applications open in the summer, typically, and we do limit it to about 30 individuals with DD or their family members, because it is a day-long training in which we engage in small group activities, in addition to hearing from panelists with lived experience. And so we want to make it a very personal and interactive experience. So that's just a bit about our Advocacy Institute. Shamika is a frequent participant as a speaker and facilitator at our Advocacy Institute and trainer extraordinaire. So we thank her for participating in that as well. And now our last slide is how you can find us. You can find us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, X, and you can also find us on our website. And you can sign up to get updates from us, newsletters, grant announcements, etc. So at this point, I think we'll stop sharing and I will turn it back over to Zanies if you want to facilitate a Q&A and discussion.
Yeah, okay, thanks, guys. So now, if anybody has any questions or comments for the presenters, you can either raise your hand in Zoom or raise your physical hand, or just let me know that you have a question or a comment. And I'll call on people. All right, Heather, you have your hand up.
Yes, I just wanted to say great presentation about what all you do. And I loved the video. And also, I maybe someday in the future, I'd like to be a part of the CDD. of New York State.
Thank you very much, Heather, for your feedback. And we certainly encourage all of you to share our videos if you like them and find them interesting with family members, friends, etc. I know particularly the Paul and Hava video, sometimes, talking about relationships and things that you want to have with your family members can be a little tricky. And so maybe you'll find some inspiration in that. And thank you for your interest in the council, Heather. We do have an application on our website. And the application is the beginning of a process. All our members are appointed by the governor. So that does take a while. But we certainly encourage, if people are interested, to check out our website.
Yeah, and Joy said that he is interested in getting married one day. So that's a great thing. All right, Kevin, you have your hand up.
Yes, thank you. I do believe that I served with one or maybe a few of you on the task force for the aging, which is a great honor for me to help serve, and a great presentation. My last fiance and I were in a situation where we couldn't get married because I was on federal benefits, and that wouldn't allow us to get married or to live together. So that was the issue.
Completely understand that, Kevin. And we do touch on that a little bit in the Paul and Hava Pathway to Marriage video. Paul and Hava were very fortunate that that was not one of their challenges in getting married. But I know for many couples, it is unfortunately a challenge. There has been legislation to change the federal laws around SSI. And SSDI, I call it the benefit cliff, right? You sort of, instead of sort of slowly having a benefit reduction or a gradual or slight reduction, you kind of, when you get married, it's like this angle on the cliff, right? And so that's not anything, unfortunately, that the state can change because those are federal benefits. But we certainly do understand that it's an issue that I have continued to raise with the National Association with which all of the state councils work. And there has been legislation introduced in Congress the last couple of years around that. But I think all of you are familiar to different degrees with what's going on in Washington, and there's not necessarily a lot of good things happening right now. And so I'm not overly optimistic that that benefit cliff is going to change anytime soon, but that doesn't mean that we don't continue to advocate for it and educate, right? If you see forums that are going on in your community where your Congress member is going to be participating, right? They're going to have town hall meetings, that sort of thing. I encourage you, Kevin, and all of you to go to those and ask to be heard and let those members of Congress who are your representatives know that that things do need to change, that these old laws on the federal books really do negatively impact people's lives, like yours, Kevin. You want to have relationships like everyone else has relationships, right? And all the good and sometimes not so good, right, that comes with it, but that's part of making choices and making decisions. Shamika says some great things on that topic in the Paul and Hava video that I really, really love and respect. And so that's part of advocating. And the other way to advocate, and this is not a political statement, this is a statement of fact, is that you can vote. And so everyone has the right to vote. And we should all remember that when it's primary election time in New York at the end of June and when it is that very special day in early November, right? Everyone has the right to vote and to vote for whatever candidate that you like the best.
Thank you, Kristen.
Absolutely.
Sophia, you have your hand up.
You just said that, and I was like, oh, we have a Sandy statewide voting task force.
I do. And I love that.
But I wanted to, the Advocacy Institute, it's every spring is the applications.
We usually open the applications in the summer and then make our selections or sometime in August. And then we hold it in Albany. It's a day-long session. So we have people come in if they're traveling the night before. And we usually try to do a little video or facilitated discussion in the evening to keep people busy. And then it's a day-long training in Albany in September. Yep. And we're planning it again this year. In fact, it's time to
Great.
start planning again.
That's good. I just want to be able to refer people to it, like a lot of
Yeah,
times people
absolutely.
go through things and we're like, they really want to increase their advocacy. So, yeah, it's good to know that that's going to be there and we should look in the summertime's
For
coming
sure.
up, I guess.
Absolutely. Yep.
Once we launch
Yeah.
the application, we'll be sure to, let the Sanies network know.
Great.
And the application will also be posted on our website.
That's awesome. Yeah, a lot of folks they've gone through Sandy's U and might want to do more. So
Mhm.
it's great. Thanks.
Absolutely. Okay. Hanif, you have your hand up.
Good afternoon, council people of the Developmental Disability Cabinet. I'm Hamid Joseph, a self-advocate from the AmeriCorps alumni, Brooklyn, New York. Uh, my concern is does this big, beautiful bill
Hanif, I'm sorry, but your audio it seems to be cutting out. So can you put your question in the chat and we'll forward it to
here. Shamika, you here?
I can hear you now. Why don't you try it again?
I was saying, I mean Joseph, the self advocate from the AmeriCorps alumni of Brooklyn, New York. My question to all of you is, will this beautiful, the big beautiful bill is environment could have interference with the services like you shared with us you know, will it still be fluctuated?
Hanif, I'm trying to understand what you're saying. I think you're asking, are you asking if the big beautiful bill has an effect on the work of the CDD?
Yeah,
Yes.
will it still standing? Throughout the long run, because other next sometime next year is going to be like it's in the clouds. What it's going. I heard to see cutbacks from the day division, that contains a lot of the services that is issued today. You know, it's becoming, left and right.
Okay.
Where maintains, a standing, journey in this world right now. See it. There's all these cutbacks.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kristen, I think you want to answer Hanif's question?
Sure, Hanif. And that's a great question, actually. And I'm going to answer it both specific to the big, beautiful bill. And that's not Hanif's title for it or my title for it, just so everyone knows. That's what the President of the United States calls that bill. I think there are some people who might disagree about how beautiful it is. It is a big bill. It does cover a whole range of topics, including things like Medicaid funding to support states' Medicaid programs. And I think all of you know that in New York State, we have a robust Medicaid program. I know it's not perfect, certainly, and people have issues with it, but it is certainly a much more full program, and we cover more services in New York than many other states do. And that often causes federal officials and people in other states to look negatively on New York and think that we're doing too much in terms of Medicaid services and Medicaid coverage. But Hanif, the big beautiful bill, which is a federal law passed and signed by the president last year, does not directly impact the CDD. It does not change our funding. I will say that it does potentially impact other things in New York, Medicaid being a big example of that. And the Governor Hochul, has been very vocal in her opposition to the Medicaid changes that are contained in the big beautiful bill. Many of New York's members of Congress have been very opposed to that bill and did not vote for it. They voted against it when they were able to vote when the bill came up in Congress last year. Our funding comes from the Department of Health and Human Services and was not directly impacted in that bill, but I can tell you that last year, in the president's first year in office, he did go after all the councils across the country and he tried to eliminate our funding. And thankfully, we were able to push back as a group, and we got funded last year, although it's the same amount of funding that the councils across the country have had for probably 5 years now. And so I think all of you know, right? Your dollar that you spend today doesn't buy you nearly as much as what your dollar bought you 5 years ago. But at least we do have that base of funding. This year, the budget is not finalized. For the federal fiscal year that starts on October 1st, but we are at least in the president's proposed budget. But some of our colleagues in related entities, like our University Centers of Excellence on Developmental Disabilities, they're not doing as well, and the president's budget has proposed to eliminate their funding again. So we're doing some advocacy work around that to try to help our colleagues, because in New York, we're very fortunate to have 3 University Centers of Excellence on developmental disabilities. Each one of them has someone who sits on the State Council on Developmental Disabilities, and they are very active partners with us. They do grant projects with us. They also provide direct services in the communities in which they're located. So there's one in Rochester at the University of Rochester Strong Center. There's one in the Hudson Valley in Westchester, the Westchester Institute for Human Development. And then there's one in the Bronx that serves people from all over New York City and beyond. And that is at the Rose F. Kennedy Center at the Einstein School of Medicine. And so they're fantastic both in the services that they're able to provide to people with DD, but also in the work that they do promoting the rights of people with DD for full inclusion, and also helping people to find their own voices and be advocates too. So yeah, there are lots of things, you're absolutely right, Hanif, going on in Washington that are trying to erode the systems and services in place across the country for people with DD. And sadly, people in other states with DD, some other states don't help people with DD nearly the way that we do in New York. And so it's even worse in other states. And we do worry about our friends and colleagues, right, in other states too. We worry about ourselves, but we also worry about people like us all over.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for your questions, your comments, and want to thank the members of the CDD for joining us today. I am going to move us along, but everybody is welcome to stay on for the next portion of our meeting if you would like. So with that, we are going to go into our meditation portion of the meeting. So at this point, you can close your eyes or turn off your camera or just lower your gaze, whatever is comfortable for you at this time. Just start to take some big, slow, deep breaths in and out. And as you breathe in and out, feel your mind and your body start to relax with every breath in and out. And as you breathe in,